Hey everybody, happy Friday! How's everybody doing out there, wherever you are in the wilds of the internet today? I hope you had a good Friday. We had a fun day at Beading Dreams. It was a little quiet here today, but we got a lot of stuff done, which is always a nice... You gotta have a day like that every once in a while to catch up on projects and things. Of course, I don't think we ever actually catch up. We just get slightly less behind here at the Beading Dreams. Maybe not even that. But anyway... Welcome to Freeform Friday. Yay! From Pelzer, South Carolina. That's awesome. Happy Friday back at ya. So tonight's project I am going to be doing, and I've done this before, or I've done a variation on this before. This is our under glass pendant basically, but I'm going to do it with some stained glass and some dried flowers. So I'm doing this because I'm actually doing an art show in a couple of weeks, and I want to have some of these done for said show. So I figured these days the best way for me to ensure that I get something done is to put it on stream. So what do I have that I'm working with today? I have some stained glass, or some, colored glass. And I've done 3 of my 4 cuts already, so I'm going to do my last cut for you here on this stream. I've got some dried flowers, and these, I think I'm going to use these little pink flower buds. We'll see. I've got some dried flowers here. Interestingly enough, if you're looking for tiny little dried flowers, Etsy is one of the best places I found to get them, and there are a whole lot of people in Eastern Europe selling really dainty small dried flowers, which is great for this kind of pendant. What I discovered with a lot of the US sellers is they sell big, large dried flowers, which was not what I needed. So I wound up ordering from Eastern Europe and got some really pretty things. And I'm just now realizing that I don't have the tweezers. I missed that. I'm gonna need that. Okay, there's the tweezers. Cool. I've got 18. I was gonna help. I'll use these because I don't want to gook up your knotting tweezers. Thank you. So yeah, dried flowers, stained glass, and then I've also got a piece of this, this is a microthin or microscope slide glass, and so another name that this type of pendant is known as is microscope slide pendants, because that's what people started doing them with, was actual, and we actually have, like, microscope slides. So you can actually put 2 microscope slides together and do a pendant like this as well. But when I was working at Caravan Beads in Chicago, there was an artist who did them with the little pieces of stained glass on the back. I really liked it, so I'm going to try and recreate that today. I've also got my soldering iron, which is nice and hot. I've already almost melted some of my technology cords with it, which is super exciting. Not. I've got my glass cutter. I recently switched. Everyone who I talked to about cutting glass was really enthusiastic about pistol grip glass cutters, and they just don't work for me. So I finally got a pencil grip glass cutter, and I love this thing. This thing is awesome. But the pistol grip cutters really need a better bucket for my glass. This is a pistol grip cutter, and this is what most people prefer to use. I don't know, I'm just weird apparently, because that is not my jam, but this one works like a dream. It's awesome. It's got a nice weight to it as well, which I like. I've got various rulers, I've got wire cutter, I've got a burnisher here, I've got some denatured alcohol in a spray bottle. I'm going to use that to clean my glass and to clean the gook off my glass when I'm done. I've got a little bit of Elmer's glue to glue down my flowers so that they stay in place during this whole process. I've got copper foil tape, and one of the problems that I run into when I'm doing these with the stained glass is it's thicker than a double thickness of the microscope slide glass. So I got some thicker copper foil tape. This is like 1/4 inch. No, this is 1/2 inch copper foil tape. I've never used this brand of copper foil tape before. I just got it off of Amazon, so it may be good or it may be tragically awful. As you all know, Freeform Friday is just as likely to become an episode of Allison Screws Up on the Internet as anything else these days. And then I've got my runner pliers that I'm going to use to break my glass. I do have a pair of Grosier pliers, but I will admit that I haven't been brave enough to figure out how to use them yet. So since I'm making a straight cut, the runner pliers should work fine for me. And yeah, And various other things I'll talk about, you know, what I've got when I get to using it. Since this is Freeform Friday, it's more of a demonstration than a tutorial, so I will tell you, you know, kind of what I'm doing, but I'm not going to spend too much time on any one step. So the first thing I'm going to do is finish cutting my stained glass. The microscope glass comes pre-cut, so I just need to cut my stained glass, my colored glass, to match. I'm going to want to cut on the inside of that line because obviously that was the outside of that I drew it on. It's extremely helpful for me to have a straight edge, and the thing when you are cutting the glass is you need to be aware that if you're riding your cutter along a straight edge, you know, you've got, what is that? Looks like a solid 1/8 of an inch before the blade. So what I need to do is I kind of need to put my straight edge down about 1/8 of an inch away from where I want to cut. I'm going to take my cutter and I'm just going to seat it on the glass and I'm just going to draw it across. And you should hear that kind of scritching noise. And then the runner pliers are hopefully, they try to be stupid proof. They've got a little line on them, and then you're supposed to just align that line up with that score that you made and then just squeeze. And if you did it right, it'll break right along that score line. It didn't break perfectly, but it's pretty good. If I had a glass grinder, I could grind these edges down, but I don't, so we're just going to kind of rough it with this glass square as it is. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean off all of my glass. And at this point I don't need my protective gloves anymore. And yes, I totally should have been wearing protective goggles when I was breaking that glass, but I don't know where I put them, so therefore just taking my eyesight into my own hands. But seriously, if you're gonna do this, you know, don't be a doof like me. Wear proper protective gear. Like, it only takes one shard of glass in your eye to make you go, wow, I really wish I really wish I had worn those protective goggles that Allison told me to wear. So I just have some denatured alcohol, the opposite of ASMR, right? Ah! And then I threw the glass. That happens sometimes on the stream. Hi Corvus, how you doing? How's everything in sunny California? Is it sunny? It was actually a really pretty day here in Dallas today. It was verging on warm, like not, it was verging on hot, not warm. It was definitely warm. It was verging on hot. All right. Okay, so now I have, why am I bleeding? What the heck? I'm bleeding inside my gloves and I have no idea why. You know, it's not my favorite game, that game that's called Why Am I Bleeding? It's no fun. Okay, so I just have a ceramic tile that I'm going to work on. And so I've got my 2 pieces of cleaned glass. And now I'm going to open up, let's see. So here's a fun thing is I'm going to open this up and I'm going to see, is this actually what it says? Because I have a bad habit sometimes of putting things away in the wrong places. So is the thing that's labeled pink flower buds actually pink flower buds, or is it something else? Oh hey, look, it is actually pink flower buds. Look at the sweet little flowers. Okay, so I'm just gonna there's this really pretty purple one too. See what else I have. Oh, Corvus. I'm so sorry. That sucks. Yes. The joys of... Oh, the joys of being a crafty person and also a clumsy person. Lori and Corvus are apparently trading weather. That's going to be interesting. If you guys can manage that, let me know. I feel like there's definitely a business opportunity there. Okay, maybe I need something that's not pink. I'm not getting quite enough. Yeah, that's better. This beautiful pansy in here, but it's freaking giant. Let's see. Let me just see if there's anything better. No dying over there.
No.
Just want to try this, see what's in here, and then I'll stop dithering and make a decision. Oh, there's 2 in here. Oh, these are pretty. These are pretty bright yellow. We're gonna use and purple. Yeah, okay. Now we have a winner. Purple and a pretty bright yellow. That I think is gonna give me, yeah, the contrast that I want. Okay, so this is my final answer as far as what I'm going to use on this. Going to take a moment and put my flowers away in the right place. Yeah, our snow is long gone. Okay. So now I'm going to take a little bit of glue, and this is just regular old white glue. And I'm going to use a toothpick to apply that to glue these babies down. Also, it would be really nice if these tweezers actually like came together at the ends, but anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to dot a little bit of white glue onto the back of my flower. This is just basically a temporary holding mechanism for while I'm foiling everything and putting everything together. So, because once the pendant's together, the flowers are going to be sandwiched in between 2 layers of glass, and so they're not going to move. So this is just basically for whilst I am working. So I've got a little bit of glue on that one, and I'm going to plop that on there. Okay. I'm just going to give that a second to dry. Just my trash cup. I had a trash. Oh, my trash cup fell over. There you go. See? God, and Facebook, the stupid Facebook algorithm, it just knows me way too well, because it keeps popping up that microfleur, which is basically a heat flower press that you do in the microwave. And I'm like, Facebook, why you gotta do me like this? Like, I don't need another crafty gadget. But the benefit theoretically to the microwave flower press is you preserve most of the color. Because, I mean, I've got some flowers that I pressed in books and things years ago, and they just, you know, they have no color at all left to them. So the microfleur theoretically keeps the color, which is, of course, me being a color person, is a very attractive idea to me. But I'm like, no more crafty things. Okay, so that's my microscope slide glass on top of my stained glass, and now I'm gonna put copper foil tape around the edge of this. So I'm gonna try this new tape that I bought. Like I said, this may be a tragic failure, or it may be a smashing success. And I'm not really wearing gloves that it's called Microfleur Corvus. Next time it passes across my Facebook feed, I will post it in Discord. Okay, so I've cut myself a piece of copper foil tape, and I've got gloves because it's going to get goopy later, but I don't know that I'm actually going to be capable of foiling this in gloves. So the gloves are going to get set to the side for a minute. Or just Google microfleur, M-I-C-R-O-F-L-E-U-R. Also, I feel like putting flammable things like drying flowers into the microwave, I feel like that could be a bad choice for me. Just considering that, you know, I'm clumsy, hence the why am I bleeding, like, maybe I shouldn't put flammable things in the science oven. Okay, so
Maybe.
What?
Maybe.
Okay, so your copper foil tape is sticky on one side. It peels off the backing. Don't peel off too much. Like, I've actually peeled off a little bit more than was wise here because it really likes to stick to itself. And I'm going to start at the center top of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay the tape on the edge of my pendant. And ideally what I want is I want an equal amount of tape on the front and the back of my pendant, which is harder actually than it sounds. Even well, I mean, you can blame my Facebook for that one, Corvus. Okay, so okay, that's pretty good. So this is basically what you want. So I've got my glass and flower sandwich, and I want to have equal amounts of foil on the front and on the back. And I'm just gonna put the foil all the way around this piece, and I want to pull it pretty taut. Now you got to be careful on the corners because if you yank it too hard, you definitely can rip your foil tape, and if you do that, you just have to start over. I have patched foil tape before, but it never really looks good. Make sure you're staying aligned. Okay, and obviously I cut more than I needed, so I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm just going to trim this off like so. I could have actually like measured that, and that would have, you know, saved me some waste, but now that I've discovered you can get copper foil tape on Amazon, it's not that expensive. Oh, right, Corvus. Yes, that would be awesome. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my copper foil tape over my edges like so. And I'm going to skip the corners for now because I'm going to kind of try and miter my corners a bit. Okay, so then for my corners, what I want to do is just kind of get my fingernail up under there to create a little crease, and then bring that foil tape down, and ideally you want it to be smooth, which is exactly what I didn't do there. This one's going to be better. So make a little crease and push it down. So that's what you want. That is ugly and lumpy, and oh well. So just make your crease and then press it down. I'm going to do that with all my corners. Okay, so everything is nice and pressed down. And then I have this little overlap here where, see how that doesn't line up? That's not going to get any better when I solder it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and I'm just going to trim that off. So the idea here is that your solder is not going to stick to your glass. Your solder will stick to your copper foil tape, and your copper foil tape will stick to your glass, and that together will make your flowers bloom. Something like that. Dang it! This is why you should not mess with things, because I tried to mess with it and I screwed it up. I was trying to just cut this down here. Okay, so what I was trying to do is I was trying to cut this here and make it straighter, and what I wound up doing is I ripped my foil tape. So, copper foiling, take 2. So, we got all of our new merchandise out at the Beading Dreams store. So anybody who's local in Dallas, I would like to invite you to come tomorrow for a sip and see of our new merchandise. We will have champagne to sip, new merchandise to see, and it will be a fun time had by all. At least that is the hope. And then we will of course be doing all new merchandise tomorrow night on stream from 6 to 9. So we are going to sell until Heather can't write anymore, and then maybe a little bit after that. So that's going to be tomorrow night on the Beading Dreams stream from 6 to 9 is all new merchandise sale. It's going to be very exciting. We have lots of cool new stuff. Everything is priced and actually ready to go.
Are we unboxing tonight, or did we decide to do that?
I think we're going to unbox Shaker and Spoon next week.
Okay.
Because I have to go get champagne for the sip and see.
Makes sense.
And if I unbox, I'm afraid I shan't make it to Trader Joe's in time. I think Heather will just need to do full body calisthenics to prepare for tomorrow, honestly. So this is why you don't screw with things, because then you wind up having to take everything off so you can redo it. Which is obviously not as easy as you would think. I will say, I think that the copper foil tape, this copper foil tape, I think is stickier than the stuff that you get from the stained glass supply places.
Is that good or bad?
Well, if I weren't having to take it off, it would be good. Since I'm trying to strip it off so I can redo it, it's a bit of a pain. Also, the moral of the story here is, the second moral, this is the dual moral story here, is make sure your X-Acto knife blade is sharp, because if my X-Acto knife blade had been sharp, I would not have torn the copper foil tape. Okay, I'm almost done undoing this so that I can redo it. Okay, nasty copper fingers now. All taped all over myself. Alright, come on. So close. Alright, so for anybody who's just joining us, I'm doing a dried flower and stained glass pendant. And I screwed up my copper foiling the first time around, so I am stripping the copper foil off of my pendant so that I can redo it. Hey, Mary! Medicating the sausage. That just sounds so sketchy. I realize it's not even a little bit sketchy, but it sounds sketchy.
Maybe you should medicate a certain person.
Right? If only. Okay, so now we are back pretty much to the point we were at 20 minutes ago. I'm going to try copper foiling this again, and this time it's going to go better. Hopefully. I don't need to re-clean my glass because even though I've gotten fingerprints all over this, they're all on the outside, so I can clean them all off when I'm done with the project. Alright, another piece of tape. Let's try this again, shall we?
Sorry, I'm squeaky.
You are squeaky, goodness. Heather's so squeaky. Okay, so once again, I'm taking the copper foil tape around the outside of my glass sandwich here, and I'm trying to hit that midline where I've got even foil on the front and on the back. Go around. Try and keep it even. That's what got me last time, is I was trying to cut down a place where I hadn't done it evenly, and that was when I ripped the tape, and that was when everything kind of, you know, went to hell. So try and keep your tape even, and then you won't have to worry about that. Okay, there we go. That's much better. It's a much less terrible job this time. It's always lovely when your fingers get stuck in your scissors. Okay. Alright, so there we go. So now once again, we're going to fold it over, and then we're going to do the corners. This is a much better taping job this time, so I guess if you're gonna have to redo it, at least it's nice if it's better the second time than the first time. Alright, corners. So the idea is you just want those corners to be smashed as flat as possible. I don't want them to be really bumpy. Okay, so now everything is foiled. Now I'm going to burnish it. So a nylon burnisher is a little bit better because it's easier on your foil tape. It's less likely it's going to tear, but I don't know where mine is, so I'm using a bone folder. And what you want to do is you just want to use the flat of your burnisher to make sure that your tape is really... And I just cracked my microscope side glass. I'm not doing this again, so we're just going with... I'm just going to do a little repair. I'm going to take a piece of skinny copper foil tape and I'm going to put it over that. And we're going to call it a design element.
I like that.
So don't press too hard with your burnisher or you're going to crack your glass.
That was too enthusiastic a shimmy.
It was too enthusiastic a shimmy, it's true. Do not shimmy that enthusiastically.
Exactly.
There. So I'm just going to put the foil tape over there, and I can even do a cute little like decorative something on there and really pretend like it was supposed to be that way from the get-go. Okay, so back to burnishing. I'm trying not to crack this anymore, but I just want to make sure that my foil tape is really, really firmly attached onto my glass. So see the difference between what I have burnished here and then what I haven't burnished. What I haven't burnished is kind of wrinkly, and what I have burnished is a lot more smooth. So again, your goal here is just optimal contact between the glass and the tape. So I'm just going to burnish the outside as well, and then I'm going to do the back. Oh, bits of tape attaching to my pieces. Ow, stabbed myself with foil tape. Okay, so now this is all, alright, it's all foiled. So now I can go ahead and solder it. So this is where, and so I'm trying a new solder. I'm actually trying leaded solder instead of lead-free solder. We're going to see how this works. I've never worked with leaded solder before, so it may be great and it may be horrifying. This is 60/40 lead and tin solder. And I'm going to use my hemostat as kind of a holding device because my glass is going to get hot. I've got my soldering iron, it's nice and hot. I've got it here in my soldering iron stand, which I put it in after I melted one of my electrical cords. And the stand has a sponge, and you're going to use that to just keep your soldering iron clean in between passes. So the first thing I'm going to do is what's called tinning this, meaning I'm just going to coat all the copper foil with a layer of solder. So I'm just going to rest my soldering iron on my solder, and my solder pretty quickly should melt and load up on my iron. And then I'm just going to pass my iron over my foil tape, and what should happen, is I forgot something. Flux. Flux is very importante. It's not going to work without flux. So flux, just like when we're soldering, you need flux in order for your solder to actually flow. So let's, pardon?
Do you have some, or do you need?
No, I have it.
Excellent.
I just didn't put it on the thing.
Gotcha.
So I'm just going to take my, and this is where I said it was going to get goopy. I'm going to take my brush, and this is called gel flux. So this is a flux that's specifically for the stained glass type of soldering, so don't try and use this if you're soldering with a torch, because it's not going to work. But I'm just painting flux all over all of my tape. And now let's see if this thing I was trying to do works a little bit better. Okay, so I've loaded up my soldering iron, and then I'm just going to pass it across. Yes, so much better. Pass it across my foil tape, and what it's done is covered that line of copper foil tape with my solder. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tin the whole thing. So I'm just going to go over all of my foil tape. So I don't know that I like the lead solder as much as the lead-free solder. Doesn't seem to want to cover as well. But of course there's always a chance that that's operator error. So I'm going to tin everything, including this little repair line that I did. And I'm going to go ahead and stand this on edge. When you're doing this, make sure that you've got it resting against your surface. Okay, don't try and do this in mid-air. It's really not going to work very well if you do. You need to be able to get a little bit of pressure on that soldering iron. Did I really just crack it again? I swear. Obviously it's not my night for microscope glass. Because I totally just cracked it again. There's now a crack running right across this flower from there to there. Oh well. So the moral of the story here, once again, we're very moral tonight on the stream apparently, is don't squeeze too hard with your hemostats or you'll crack your glass. So if you get a big old blob of solder like that, you can just use your soldering iron to melt it and just kind of drag it across, which is kind of a cool thing, so you can just redistribute the solder however you want or however you need to. And then I'm going to tin the back. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just refine the edges a bit. So the way I'm going to refine the edges is I'm going to load up some solder on my soldering iron, and I'm going to tap and release on my edges. And I'm going to go press and release, press and release, press and release. And what that does is it just gives your edge a little bit more of, you know, a rounded, kind of nice, you know, sort of shape to it. And it gives you a nice kind of firm outside layer as well. I know, Corvus, I just wish the crack wasn't going right across this stupid flower. Like the first crack, you know, I could put down here in the corner and it was fine, but this crack's going like right across the middle of everything. I think at this point I'm just going to ignore it, and we're just going to call this a demonstration piece and not a piece for sale. So I'm going to go around all of the edges, just doing that tap and release, to get that nice finish. your butt was being loud. I think it was the rest of you that was being loud.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so now my edges are done, and the last thing I need to do is put a ring on this so that I can hang it as a pendant or a sun catcher or whatever. Well, then I'm going to need to clean all the goop off of it, of course. So I'm going to do that by putting it in a third hand, like so that it's standing up where you all can see it. And I've got one sterling silver ring, and this is a sterling silver soldered ring, and I've got it in my hemostat. I just need to be able to hold that in place, but still get to either side of it with my soldering iron. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit more flux right there where I'm going to put my ring, and I'm going to hold my ring there, and I'm actually going to do it this way because I'm going to be able to put a jump ring through this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap my soldering iron on either side of it, and gosh, this is like the worstest angle possible for you to not be able to see this, but anyway, I'm going to tap my soldering iron on either side of this until it kind of sinks into the solder. So I'm going to do one side, and then the other side, and then the first side, and then the second side. And what's going to happen once everything gets nice and warm enough is my ring is going to just sink in and bond to that solder, and you can test it by trying to pick it up, and obviously mine didn't work. Also make sure you give it some time to cool down before you try and pick it up. There we go. Okay, so there is my pendant. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put my gloves back on, because this is where I have to touch all the goopiness, is I'm going to use my denatured alcohol to clean all of that flux goo off of my pendant. Be careful, it's warm. Slightly uncomfortably warm, actually. So just bear in mind that you did just have a soldering iron on this, and so possibly you should be smarter than me. Give it a couple minutes to cool down before you actually touch it.
No.
Well, okay, but I still highly recommend being smarter than me.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to be, but it's a good life choice, I can tell you. Okay, so I've got that all cleaned up. It's all goo free. And then if you've got any little like bits of scrunch still on there, you can grab a piece of steel wool, and those will buff out pretty easily. Just like so, and that gives you a nice clean finish on that. Alright, and there we go. So unfortunately, due to this second crack, I did not end up with a saleable piece tonight, which is kind of a bummer, but I did wind up with a reasonable demonstration piece for the stained glass and dried flower technique. So super fun way to showcase dried flowers, especially if if you're not good at resin, which I'm not good at flowers and resin. At some point, Corvus, I'm gonna need to like consult with the Jedi about the flowers and resin, because they never work out very well for me. But this one's really fun, and you could also hang this in a window as a sun catcher. The glass is translucent, so it will show light through it, and it's very pretty. So that's it. That's our Freeform Friday project for this Friday evening, February the 11th, 2022. So thanks so much for hanging out. Watching me crack glass on screen, which was, not part of the actual, what was supposed to happen, but it is what it is, it is what it is. It does what it does, and I did actually manage to finish the pendant on stream, so there you go. Oh, thanks, Corvus. It's just that stupid, this crack right here. You can see it runs right across the flower. So it'll be a piece for me or a piece to hang in the shop. But yeah, it's really, really fun. And especially, I have this major like fascination with colored glass. And then I have a couple of clients who gave me a bunch of colored glass, and I don't do stained glass, so it was part of me like trying to figure out what am I gonna do with this cool glass that that my clients gave me, and this is one of the fun things that I decided to do with it. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us on the Freeform Friday stream here at the Beading Dreams. I'm Allison from Beading Dreams in Dallas, Texas. We are an actual brick and mortar retail bead store, and once again, if you're local in Dallas, we are premiering all of our new merchandise tomorrow. Come by anytime between 1 and 6, and you can see all the new merchandise. It's all laid out. It's all looking pretty and fabulous and gorgeous, and is all looking for happy new homes. If you're not local in Dallas, you can find us back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream, tomorrow at 6 p.m. with a 3-hour-long new merchandise sale. Okay, so we have lots and lots of new merchandise that we're going to be running through the stream. We probably won't get through it all. I know we won't get through it all tomorrow because there's so much of it. So new merchandise on the stream will continue through next week. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us on the Freeform Friday stream, and that's a wrap. And Sophia's not even here to say it for me. But yeah, that's it for tonight's stream. Thanks for hanging out with me with the stained glass and flower project, and we will see you all back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream, tomorrow at 6.